I grew up in northern Arizona, close to the Navajo Nation. My parents owned a small piece of land near a stretch of forest that was quiet during the day, but felt heavy at night, like something old lived between the trees. People in town warned us never to whistle at night and never to answer voices calling from the woods. I thought those warnings were just superstition. I was wrong. One night in late October, I got home from a long shift. My parents were out of town, so the property was mine for the weekend. I made a quick dinner, watched some videos, and tried to relax. Outside, the wind was soft. The night felt calm. Around midnight, the power flickered twice. Then the lights went dark. I went outside to check the breaker. The air felt colder than it should. The forest looked still, too still. I walked toward the breaker panel. I remember hearing the dry leaves crunching under my boots. No other sounds. No animals. No wind. When I reached the panel, I lifted the cover and checked the switches. Everything looked fine. I closed it and started walking back. That was when I heard it. My own voice. It came from the tree line. It was calling my name. Very soft, very clear. Just a simple, slow call. Like someone trying to get my attention. I froze. It sounded exactly like me. Same tone, same rhythm. Same way I say my own name when I am annoyed or tired. I knew it was not an echo. The voice was coming from deep in the woods, past the first row of trees. Something was hiding and using my voice. I backed up slowly. I did not say anything. I did not want to show fear. People always said never answer, never talk back. So I stayed quiet. The voice called again. This time it sounded a little closer. I could hear something moving with it. Not heavy footsteps, more like something dragging itself. The leaves shifted in a long slide. The forest swallowed the sound as soon as it stopped, like the night wanted to hide it. I got back inside and locked the door. I grabbed a flashlight. The beam shook in my hand. I tried to call my parents, but there was no signal. I stood in the living room and listened. For almost a full minute, nothing happened. Then the voice called again. This time it came from the front porch. It was still my voice, but the tone had changed. It sounded too smooth, too steady, like someone trying to be human but not fully understanding how emotion works. I stepped back from the door. My phone vibrated in my hand. Still no signal. I thought about hiding, but the voice spoke again, not calling my name this time. It said, "Let me in." Only those 3 words. Simple, calm. But it was the way it said them that made my skin crawl. The pitch was perfect. The timing was perfect. The emotion was wrong. Completely wrong. Like someone reading from a script without understanding the meaning. I stayed silent. The voice repeated the words. Same tone, same pitch, same rhythm, like a recording. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in! My heart was racing. Something scraped across the porch. Slow, careful, like nails on old wood. I forced myself to look through the small window beside the door. There was nothing on the porch, nothing I could see, but the scraping continued, slow, repeating. I stepped away from the door. When the scraping stopped, I heard breathing, very slow, very deep. It sounded like the breath came from someone tall, someone standing right against the door. The breathing paused. Then a whisper came from the same spot. It said, "I know you hear me." The whisper was still my voice, but it now had a tremble, like it was trying to mimic fear, trying to match the panic it sensed from me. I backed up until my legs hit the couch. I held the flashlight tight enough that my knuckles hurt. The whisper came again. "Let me show you something." The fear in me peaked. I ran to the back of the house and closed myself inside my parents' bedroom. The room had only one window, and it faced away from the woods. I shut the curtains. I sat on the floor with my back against the bed frame. I waited. For a long time, nothing happened. I started to think maybe it had given up. Maybe it had gone back into the woods. Then, something tapped on the bedroom window. 3 slow taps. A pause. 3 more taps. I held my breath. I did not move. The tapping became faster. Not frantic, just steady, like it was counting. Then the voice came again, still using my voice. Still wrong. It said, You look scared. Let me see your face." My eyes burned with tears, but I stayed silent. The voice called my name again. This time it sounded frustrated. The pitch slipped. The words stretched. It sounded less human. I think that was the first moment it stopped pretending. The tapping stopped. Silence filled the room. I waited. I remember counting to 60 over and over, hoping it was gone. When I finally worked up the courage to look out the window, I lifted the curtain only an inch. I saw something standing in the yard. It was tall, taller than any person I had ever seen. Its body was thin and uneven. Its limbs were long and bent at strange angles. The head looked like it was trying to be human but failing. The outline was not right, too narrow, too long. It stood perfectly still, facing the house, facing me. Even though I moved only a little, the shape tilted its head. The movement was sharp, precise. It had noticed me. It started to walk toward the bedroom window. Not fast, not slow. The steps were too wide, too smooth, like it was gliding. I dropped the curtain and held my breath. The window creaked as something pressed against it. Then I heard my voice again. Quiet, right outside the glass. I see you. I did not answer. My phone vibrated again. Still no signal. The creature stayed at the window for a long time. It did not try to break in. It did not speak again. It only breathed, slowly, deeply, like it was learning how to breathe by listening to me. After what felt like an hour, the breathing faded. The window relaxed. The night became still again. I did not sleep. I stayed on the floor until sunrise. When the morning light came, I finally checked outside. The yard was empty, but the ground under the window had long tracks in the dirt. Tracks that looked like something had crouched there. Something heavy. Something waiting. My parents came home later that day. I tried to explain what happened. They looked scared, but not surprised. My father locked every window. He burned cedar outside the front door. He told me never to speak to a voice that sounds like my own. Never. I moved out a month later. I live in a city now. I do not go near forests. I do not answer voices at night. Sometimes, when everything is quiet and I lie in bed, I think I hear myself calling from outside. Soft, familiar, patient, just waiting for me to speak first. I want to tell you what happened to me and my girlfriend last summer. We are both from Colorado, and we like camping. We thought we knew the woods. We thought we understood what real danger was. We were wrong. We drove out to a small lake far from the main road. The place looked peaceful. Clear water, thin fog above the trees, a quiet sky that looked soft and safe. We set up our tent. We cooked a small meal. We talked about our plans for the next day. Fishing, hiking, nothing special. When the sun went down, we sat by the fire and listened to the forest. It sounded normal. Crickets, water moving at the shore, a few owls calling far away. Everything felt calm. But around midnight, something changed. The night air felt wrong, too quiet. The crickets stopped. Even the water stopped making noise. I noticed it first. I turned to my girlfriend and asked if she heard anything. She said no at first. Then she opened her mouth again and froze. There was a sound coming from the trees behind our tent. It was a voice, a very low, broken voice. It called her name, not loud, not soft, just clear. Her name, spoken like someone who knew her well. She asked me if it was a joke. I told her. I did not say anything. I stood up and used my flashlight to look at the tree line. I saw nothing, only dark shapes and branches. The voice called again. Same tone, same slow rhythm. It sounded like a family member trying to wake her up. She grabbed my arm and whispered that we should stay near the fire. I agreed. We stayed still. The voice stopped for a moment. Then we heard leaves moving. Something big was walking between the trees. Not like a deer, not like a bear. The steps were slow and heavy. One step, then silence. Then another step. It was watching us. I could feel it. We quietly gathered our things and moved closer to the car. The fire became our only light. When we reached the car door, The voice came again, but this time it did not call her name. It copied her voice. Perfectly. I mean perfectly. It said to me, in her exact voice, "Come here, I need help." My girlfriend covered her mouth to stop herself from making a sound. Her eyes filled with fear. She whispered that it was not her. I knew that. The thing copied her tone too well. It was too exact. No real human speaks with that level of precision. Something stepped out from behind a tree. My flashlight caught the shape for only 1 second. One long, thin arm. One pale leg. A body that looked human, but stretched in the wrong places. The head turned toward us with a slow and broken motion, like it did not understand how a neck should work. It crouched down as if preparing to run. My girlfriend screamed. The creature let out a short sound. Not a roar, not a cry, more like a breath forced through teeth that did not fit right. I pushed her inside the car and slammed the door. I jumped into the driver's seat. The creature ran toward us. It moved too fast. Its legs bent in ways that made no sense. I turned the key again and again. The engine would not start. The creature reached the firelight. That was the moment I saw its face. It looked almost human, but the skin was loose and dark around the cheeks. The mouth was stretched too wide. The eyes were spaced wrong. It looked like something trying to imitate a person but failing. It mimicked my voice. It said, "Let me inside." The same words again and again. Not angry, not excited, just calm and steady. "Let me inside. Let me inside." My girlfriend cried and covered her ears. I hit the wheel and prayed for the engine to start. The creature placed one hand on the hood. The fingers were long and thin like bones wrapped in wet leather. Finally, the engine came alive. I floored the gas. The car shot forward. The creature slid off the hood and rolled across the dirt. Its arms twisted at angles I know should break, but it stood up again. It got to its feet in one slow lift, like a puppet being pulled by strings. It took one step toward us, but I was already driving. I did not slow down until we reached the highway. We did not stop until we got home. We told the police. They said it was a wild animal. They said we imagined the voice. They said fear can play tricks. But I know what we heard. That voice was real. That shape was real. Weeks later, my girlfriend told me she still hears her own voice whispering her name when the house is quiet. I hear my voice too sometimes. Soft, wrong, patient. We do not go camping anymore. I worked as a night ranger in a remote section of northern New Mexico. My station was a small wooden tower near the edge of a huge forest. Most nights were simple. Check the trails, watch for fires, report strange lights, nothing more. I liked the silence. The job paid well, and I thought I understood the woods. I was wrong. Something out there was older than the trees, and smarter than most people want to believe. One night in late September, the air felt different. The forest was colder than usual. Not windy, just cold, like the whole place was holding its breath. I sat inside the tower and looked out at the tree line. My radio crackled once, then stopped. I tapped it. No answer from dispatch. I checked my watch. Midnight. The shift was only halfway done. I climbed down to do my usual patrol. The trail was dark, but I knew every turn. I walked slowly and scanned both sides with my flashlight. Everything looked normal at first. Dirt, grass, broken branches, tracks from a deer. Then I noticed something strange on the ground. Footprints, bare footprints, but not shaped right. Too long, toes too far apart. The prints crossed the trail and stopped at the base of a tree. Whatever made them had climbed straight up the trunk. I aimed my flashlight upward. I saw nothing but branches. I felt watched though. The weight of eyes on my skin. I turned in a full circle. No sound, no movement, just silence. I kept walking. About 10 minutes later, I heard a voice behind me. It spoke softly. It said my name. Not loudly, just enough for me to hear. I froze. No one should have known my location. No one should have been out here at this hour. I lifted my radio and called dispatch again. Nothing came through but static. The voice repeated my name, same tone, same rhythm. I turned slowly and pointed my flashlight into the darkness. I saw a man standing on the trail, or at least something shaped like a man. He was tall, too tall. His arms hung lower than normal, his head tilted slightly. His clothes looked torn. His skin looked thin and stretched. He did not walk toward me. He only stared. I called out. I asked if he needed help. I got no answer. I stepped back. He copied the movement. One step back. Same timing. Same angle. Like a reflection, but without a mirror. I stepped to the right. He stepped to the right. I felt my stomach twist. Something was wrong with how he moved. Too smooth. Too exact. Then he spoke. He used my voice. Perfectly. Word for word. He said, "Help me." He said it in the same way I had spoken earlier into my radio. He was copying me, learning me, and he wanted me to come closer. I did not move. I kept my flashlight on him. The shape twitched. The twitch was sharp and sudden, like the body did not understand how joints worked. Slowly, it lowered itself to all fours. The movement was too fast and too flexible. It crawled toward me with long steps, fingers digging into the dirt. I ran. I sprinted down the trail toward the tower. Branches slapped my arms. My breath burned in my chest. I heard the creature behind me, crawling. Not quite running, but it was fast. Faster than any person. I reached the tower steps and climbed as quickly as I could. I slammed the door shut and locked it. The tower walls were thin. I leaned against the door and listened. For a moment, everything was silent again. Then the creature began climbing the outside of the tower. I heard its fingers scrape along the wood, slow at first, then faster. Scrape, 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 getting closer to the window. I crouched and held my flashlight tightly. I did not want to look out, but I knew it was coming. The claws reached the window frame. The glass rattled. The shape pulled itself higher until its face peeked over the edge. I saw it clearly. Its eyes were wrong. They were too bright, too wide, like someone wearing human skin as a mask. The mouth stretched. The jaw clicked as if broken. It whispered my name again. Quiet, calm, patient. I stepped back. My foot hit the metal cabinet behind me. The sound made the creature tilt its head sharply. I could hear its joints pop as it moved. It reached one long arm through the open gap in the window. The fingers bent backward as if they had no bones. At that moment, the tower floodlight turned on by itself. A timer had triggered it. The bright light hit the creature full in the face. It screamed, not like a human, not like an animal. The sound was thin and high, like metal scraping metal. It yanked its arm back and dropped from the window. I heard it hit the ground and run into the trees. The footsteps were wrong, too long, too fast. Then nothing. The forest went dead silent again. I stayed inside until sunrise. When I finally climbed down, the dirt around the tower was full of footprints. Not human prints. Too long, too twisted. The same prints I had seen on the trail. I reported everything to the department. They told me I had seen a sick animal. They told me stress can cause hallucinations. They told me to take a week off. I quit instead. I moved out of the state. I thought distance would help. I thought leaving the forest behind would make me forget. But some nights, when the streets are quiet, I still hear something outside my window. A soft knock, followed by my own voice saying my name. Slow, calm, patient. And I know that whatever I saw that night did not stay in the woods. It remembers me.